It's breakfast with Bob.
And Pancho Man.
Hey.
Oh, we are brought to you by HOKA, Polar, UCAN, Velofix, Normatec, Active, Canyon Bicycles, Forum Goggles, Amp Human. Our championship edition will be a four-season resort, Hualalai. Our next guest, most recent induction into the Ironman Triathlon Hall of Fame, two-time Ironman World Champion. Give it up for Mr. Tim DeBoom.
Thank you.
How you doing, Tim?
I am doing fantastic.
Always a pleasure, bud.
I appreciate it. Same here.
Good to be back.
It is very good to be back. I wouldn't always have said that in the past, but this year's pretty special.
I remember years ago doing an interview with you and just talking about the night before the race, night before Ironman, and this was like in March. And I said, "What do you think about the night before?" I said, "Right now, I can get physically ill thinking about what I'm going to be feeling the night before."
Pretty much. There's nothing quite like the couple days leading up to this race, especially if you're kind of in the hunt and the pressure's on. And but honestly, if I wasn't nervous, something would have been wrong.
Yeah.
I think my last couple years I wasn't as nervous, and I knew that it was time to probably hang up the goggles.
Yes. So one of the races that always sticks out for me is 1998. Yeah. And you and Peter Reed have been training together.
Yep.
Right. Both of you guys have been training together. Both of you are contenders. Neither of you had won yet.
Nope.
And you come here, and here's a guy, and in training, one day he's hurting you, one day you're hurting him. And how long had you guys been training together?
We had a good 6-week block together back in Boulder, and honestly I feel like I had the best of him a lot of days in Colorado. And then he left with about 3.5-4 weeks to go before the race.
Right.
And he went home and rested, and I didn't.
You kept
I
going.
kept training probably a little. I mean, I rested, but not enough.
Right.
And that was just a huge eye opener to watch him win handily.
Yeah.
And for me to come in 10th place, and but it opened my eyes in a good way in that I knew that I had the tool set to do it. I just had to sharpen those tools and learn to rest.
Well, and here's the guy who you've been hurting.
Yeah.
And he's at the top of the podium winning a race.
Yeah.
And there were days that you guys were at least as good as him at that point.
I ever since my swim career, I could out-train anybody.
Yeah.
And because that's what I loved. I love training more than racing, and to this day I still do that. But putting it together and learning how to shut it down and rest a bit, that's more important. I mean, you got to come in here or any Ironman race undercooked instead of overcooked. 1% overcooked or 5% undercooked. Huge difference.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the old Karen Smyers. I'd rather be 10% undertrained than 1% overtrained.
Yep, for sure.
So then in 2000, Peter wins again, and 2001 was pretty interesting because of 9/11.
Yep.
We didn't even know if this race was going to happen.
No, I was definitely on. My training had gone perfect. I was best training of my life. I had just finished the last of my big block, and boom, 9/11 hit. And I sat on the couch for 2 days with Nicole, kind of watching the world unravel.
Right.
And I felt selfish and guilty for even thinking about racing at that point. If I'd go for a bike ride, it was like, are people looking at me just saying, what's this fool out there doing when the world's in this shape?
He should be inside.
Yeah, you should. And
morning.
And what I realized was that was my therapy, my way of dealing with it was getting out on the bike and going out for runs. When my dad passed away, it was the same thing. All I knew how to do was go out and ride and deal with it that way. And so eventually I was able to, comprehend. There was no way I was getting on a plane right away. I was supposed to leave a few days after it happened and fly to California to finish my training. And Nicole and I both were like, we're not getting on a plane.
Right.
And we packed up the car and drove to California.
You drove to Santa Cruz.
Yeah, and that was the best thing I could have done. I mean, to drive and reconnect with the country, and we stayed a night in Tahoe, and by the time I got to California, it was just, I'd found a little more soul, and it was just really good to do that. And then being in Santa Cruz is a little, away from your home, but in another great place. And then by the time we were ready to fly to Hawaii, we knew it was going to be on, and all that anxiety was kind of gone, and I got over here and was really comfortable.
Well, and the interesting part, we hadn't had an American win since Mark Allen at that point in '95.
And at this point, that doesn't seem that long. 95 to 2001.
Because you're last guy in 2002.
Yeah, we need some guys to come up.
Who do you think?
That's a
American
tough call.
guys. Andy Potts is always up there. Tim O'Donnell's
this
always
year,
up there.
I'm not picking any of them for the win.
Right.
There's too many guys that are head and shoulders above them.
Right.
But maybe some young guys coming up. There's some definite talent.
You've also been here when Steve Larson, the Uber cyclist, came here.
Yeah.
And people are like, okay, that guy is going to be a factor. And then Chris McCormick, I'm going to win 6 times.
Yep.
I'm going to come here and win 6 times. I remember Dave Scott, we're doing the interview, and I'm going to win here 6 times. And Dave Scott was like, why don't you try winning once? Maybe that'd be a good way to start. But, then it's hot. Resume doesn't do much here. Alistair Brownlee's 2-time Olympic gold medalist.
Yeah.
Definitely would be one of those Hall of Fame guys for the sport. But this is a different animal. If you haven't raced here, you don't know.
Yeah, I'm as anxious as everybody else to see what Alistair can do.
Exactly.
I mean, it's one of the greatest athletes, not just triathletes, but one of the greatest athletes in the world. I mean, 2 gold medals in an event like the triathlon is phenomenal. And, you never count someone like that out to come in and just blow things apart. But you also, with the way this race is, and Alistair's a different kind of athlete. I remember, Simon Lessing was very similar when he came here, and
yes,
you've got to look at like the economy of their run form and things like that. And I'm not sure it's there. It's going to be really interesting to see the back half of the marathon for him and how tactically he is during the race. He's a racer and an animal out there, and this race is about patience. I mean, it is patience all the way. You've got to. I mean, I'd start the run here, and my mantra for 10 miles plus was hold back, hold back, hold back. And I had to keep telling myself because most of the time I came off the bike feeling pretty good.
Right.
And if I didn't hold back, I mean, 1 year it bit me in the butt was 07. I came off with Macca and Crowe, and Torborn was up the road. And, I ran with those guys we were running 5:25 pace, down a Lee Drive. And I was like, this is a mistake. But that's also
you're with the race.
That's the race part of it. And if I'd listened to myself, they might have come back if I had let them go at that point.
Right.
But I went with them, and then I just kind of lost my energy and didn't have that snap the second half. And, it ended up – Torborn was in third at that, and I was in fourth after Macca and Crowe were up the road. And I just wanted third at that point.
Right.
And, I mean, Torborn was 15 seconds ahead of me, and I'm a way better runner than him.
Right.
But I couldn't get him. I could not get him. And, I kicked myself for that because I was like, how could I not close that gap? I mean, everybody was like, you got him. You got it on the side of the road. They're like, you got him. And I was like, no, I don't. I don't have him.
I would like to have him.
I was like, yes, I'm trying.
But he's not coming back.
Yeah,
what the hell?
and so, that's one of those memories in my head where I'm like, that third place would have been nice.
So when you win the thing in 2001, and because of 9/11, it was a different atmosphere here. I mean, everybody was hoping an American could win. And as you were running down Elite Drive and run along the course, people are just chanting, "Go USA."
Yeah, it was, in the moment it was hard. I mean, the USA thing, obviously, I remember someone handing me this gigantic flag. I mean, gigantic. And I literally couldn't hold the thing. I felt bad because I was like, I tried to run 2 steps with it. And I was like, I can't hold this. And I just passed it off to somebody on the side. And then some hand me like the smallest flag.
And you're like,
and I was like, well, all right, this will do. And, but the best thing about that whole situation was when I got to the finish line, I had some time to watch the other finishers come in. And, like, the athletes, not just USA athletes, but the foreign athletes were running across with American flags too. I mean, you see pictures of Thomas Hellriegel, I think was third, and he's got the German flag and the American flag, and I look back at that, and that meant so much. And it just shows what a great community we are. We're competitors on the race course, but you walk around town and people are friendly. Unless Mac is in the crowd, then he's always pushing buttons. But, everybody's pretty friendly out here.
Yeah, just the camaraderie. Just last year when Jan Frodeno couldn't race after he ran that 106, everybody who sat here from Sebastian to Lion was like, I am so bummed. I had a hard time training knowing he wouldn't be here.
Yeah,
you
want your
the best guy
on
the best day, and you want to beat him.
Yeah, and I think in 2001, that was a lot of those best guys, like, dropped out on the run. And so a lot of people looked at my win as, well, if Peter hadn't have dropped out or if Luke was racing and – and so I caught a lot of that. So that was, again, fuel for 2002,
You like that fuel.
I need some fuel sometimes, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which year was it where you were like, what, 2 minutes back of Peter when it was
Well,
at
that
his
was when
second
I was
win,
second.
His second win.
He was 2000, and
yes.
is that 1
2 minutes.
One gel cost
Right.
me. I mean, we were running down Elite E the whole time, and I remember I was my snap just kind of went away for just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is it? You know, and you're in the moment and you can't really think about it. And I ran past Greg Welch. He was on the side of the road looking at us, and Pete had gained 15 feet on me, which in an Ironman's everything. But he just looks at me and he goes, Tim, eat everything. And I went through the aid station, buffet style, just, I mean, I literally, and that was it though. That brought me back.
Yeah.
And the rest of the race, Pete and I held that gap, and we came out of the energy lab separated by, 3 minutes.
Right.
And the whole way back, I was eating into it. But I mean, I crossed that and I was angry. I think you can watch me cross the finish line there, and they had
2
to bleep
minutes.
it, and because I was upset. But I've said that fueled me for 364 days.
No question.
Like, I was angry. I mean, you can ask my wife. It wasn't anger out there, but every moment, every workout was towards 2001 Ironman, coming back here and doing it right.
And it's funny how the finish can affect both guys so differently. Pete finished and was like, I can't believe I only won by 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And then immediately started training for the following year and burned himself out. And basically,
we went to training camp in December together to California and we like to put in a big block of basically riding before Christmas so we could enjoy Christmas and the New Year before we really started training again. And yeah, I remember he was almost like dieting already, and I was eating candy and anything I could at that time. I knew we were riding 5 hours a day. I was like, I'm burning everything. I need to keep my weight up. And but yeah, and that I think that happened to me at the end of my career. I didn't try to, but you get too thin, too lean. You got to really work to keep that weight up when you're training so hard.
Well, and I think the problem becomes you go I got to run faster. If I got to run faster, I got to be skinnier. And you see somebody else who looks skinny, and I need to get skinnier.
Well, and we were in the age, like Pete and I both know cyclists and pro cyclists, and they were our friends. They're training, and their whole life revolves around weight and power to weight, but they don't have to run and they don't have to swim, and you got to be strong out here in the lava fields. Yeah.
So when you look at the racing now, it's funny. You go back to Mark and Dave from swimming 50 minutes, running around 240. Yep. That really hasn't changed that much. Right?
No, but the bike is
changed.
Fast.
How has it changed?
They're just pushing it harder. I mean, the equipment is faster, I do believe. I was talking to Jimmy Riccatello yesterday, who's the director of the bike course and the head official, and I was asking him about that, and he just said, man, the equipment today is so fast comparably. I mean, these guys are going 409 on the bike. I mean, and I know that's an ex-pro cyclist, again, doing that, but everybody's under 420. Which
was the time. If you went 420,
you were
first guy
Jürgen
off the
Zach.
bike.
But you're not seeing the swim or the run times much faster.
Right.
I mean, obviously Patrick has some amazing runs, but very
Still,
few guys are even running in the 240s.
Right.
And I think it's kind of go for broke on the bike. I think they just you got a couple of these guys who can push on the bike, and they're not afraid to push. I've always said, I could push harder on the bike, but I don't know what it would do to my run, backing up the run. And so we were pushing as hard as we could, knowing we wanted to run 240.
Right.
I
think when you look at the bike portion, I think what's changed too, and not changed, there's the competition here compared to any other Ironman you go to. Other Ironman you go to, there's 2 other guys, right? Maybe 3. You come here, there's 30 who are going to be up there.
Yep.
And so it's nothing people ever do. You don't really ride with a group of 30 guys who ride about the same as you and basically surging back and forth in a bike race.
I agree. I mean, it has become a bike race out there. And some of the guys here, obviously, I think they kind of kick it to the side and be like, well, I don't have a chance of winning, but I'm going to blow this thing up. I'm going to make some guys go with. I mean, I think I think Larson, when he was here, he thought he could win it, but he was also, it made him proud to really blow this race apart.
Absolutely.
And I watched it happen, and he did. He blew the race apart. But I think you still got those kind of guys, but you also have to respect that because maybe they're just going to have that day. They're going to have magic legs and get to the run and be able to hold it.
Right.
I mean, I look at like Norman. You know, I mean,
That year when
nobody expected it. You know, when he rode whatever it was, the record-setting time.
Yeah.
And backed it up with a
2:55 marathon.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody's like, "There's no way Norman's running it under 3 hours."
Exactly, and
but
so
that changed it. People started thinking, "Well, if I get a 10-minute lead,
you know, Cameron
250,
Worf is doing that. He's just hedging his bets of what do I have to ride and hold and run. I think he believes he can run 250.
Yes,
and
so he needs if he gets
so
10
he's over
minutes,
10 minutes.
Somebody's
It's going to be
run.
tight.
And there's a difference. I told Patrick the other day when he caught Lionel 2 years ago. There's a difference running 2:39 when you're in 18th and running to 9th.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Then running from where you are to winning the race.
Yeah.
Having to run a 2:39 to win.
Yeah.
And
you
so
don't see it often.
You don't. Now, for you coming back that second year, if I remember correctly, didn't you lose your sponsors after winning the race?
Yeah, with 9/11, you know, I mean, the world economic situation really went crazy, and RLX Polo Sport pulled out of the sport.
Yes,
completely, and I didn't get the offers that I felt I deserved.
Right,
and Ironman had upped their prize purse for 2002 a little bit, and I just said, you know what, I'm gonna race blank, and I'm gonna put everything I got back into Kona, which I did anyway years before,
right.
but I did it. And once I got closer to Kona, some companies stepped up. I was like, okay, Tim's going to be ready. We're going to put a gamble on him, and it was nice. I remember getting to Kona, and I was with Trek Bikes at the time. And before the race even happened, I didn't know this at the time, but they had my bonus check for winning already there.
They had it there.
Yeah, and she was like, I was going to show you this before the race, but that might be bad luck. But I literally went to breakfast the day after the race to him, and she handed it to me, which is pretty rare. I usually wait months for that kind of stuff, but it was pretty cool that they believed in me that much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Watching the race tomorrow, do you enjoy watching?
I'm a terrible spectator.
I was going to say.
I've never watched.
Yeah.
I mean, last year I was here for the first time in about, I think, 8 years. I hadn't come to the island.
Did you go for a bike ride or something?
I went for a run, and I went home during the race.
Yeah, yeah.
I flew out basically during the race. I was like, I can't be here for this.
It's too hard, right?
It is really hard and this year's a little different because I brought my daughter, and we're going to show her. I've seen the whole week through her eyes and the build up and all this, and it's eye opening and fantastic, and it's given me a whole new appreciation, and I've been able to enjoy myself. And but tomorrow all bets are off. I might be out running all day myself in the opposite direction of the race.
And now you're cross country skiing.
Now I pray for snow instead of wind over here.
Yeah.
And, it's all backcountry skiing, cross-country skiing, ski mountaineering.
Mountain biking.
And then in the summer I climb mountains, gotten into climbing with my daughter. Everything is very different, but all of it's outdoors and just different than what I used to do.
What was the feeling like when you got the call telling you you're getting inducted into the Hall of Fame?
That was really special. It's something that I don't think as an athlete you don't do something thinking, oh, this is a Hall of Fame career that I got going here. You don't think about that, and like I mentioned it before that I got the call from Mike Riley, and he said, "Hey Tim, we're going to induct you to the Hall of Fame," and it just seemed so appropriate.
Of course,
from how many times he called me home to races, and to get the call from him, it was special. And I went inside after I had been out riding my mountain bike, and I saw there were a couple messages from Mike, and I was like, "Oh, I'll call him back. What does he want?" And after chatting with him, I went back inside to my wife, and she was in there. I said, "Hey, it looks like we're going to go to Hawaii this year." And she was like, "Oh, great. Looks like you're officially part of the Old Timers Club now."
Yeah, you are. You're with us.
And I could laugh it off at that time, but since then, I've had so many people say that. You're officially an old timer. I don't think I appreciate that.
Have you gotten your AARP card yet?
I'm pushing it.
That's coming next.
A couple years here.
I love it. You're still young. You're not. What are you? 40-something?
Are we going to talk about age?
Well, I can talk about age. I'm like 90.
Yeah,
so what's the difference?
No, I'm going to put up the biggest number a year from now.
50?
Yeah, I turned 49 in about a month.
So you got a big plan for 50? What are you going to do?
I've got big plans. I gotta clear it with the wife.
Okay, I won't. There's nobody here, so we won't.
She's not
share.
here, but the little one's here.
Yeah.
But she's probably not quite ready to go on the trip that I want to take. So, but
cool. How about a big round of applause for the latest Ironman Hall of Fame inductee, Mr. Tim DeBoom.
Thanks so much.
It's breakfast with bar.
Wow, will you stay here for a photo? We're going to take a photo.
You going to get in the photo?